Have you ever felt like you're running out of time, even when nothing around you seems urgent? Like there's an invisible pressure pushing you forward, a quiet anxiety you can't explain, a constant sense that you're late for something important, but no one ever told you what it is. You wake up, move through your day, scroll, work, plan, repeat, and yet, deep down, something feels off, as if reality itself is slightly misaligned, as if the world is moving according to rules you were never given. Most people try to silence that feeling. They call it stress. They call it overthinking. They call it just life. But what if it isn't psychological at all? What if it isn't a personal flaw, a lack of discipline, or a mindset problem? What if the sensation you've been carrying is actually a signal one that almost no one talks about, pointing to a hidden layer of reality? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Millions of people feel the same pressure, the same urgency, the same sense of delay, and yet society tells them everything is fine. The clock keeps ticking. Deadlines keep stacking. The future is always somewhere ahead of you. And without realizing it, your mind adapts to a rhythm that never belonged to you in the first place. Quantum consciousness offers a very different perspective. In the quantum field, time is not the solid, linear force we were taught to obey. At the deepest level of existence, time behaves more like a perception than a law. And when your consciousness begins to sense that mismatch between what you feel and what you're told, you experience it as anxiety, restlessness, or the feeling that something is wrong with reality itself. This is often the first sign of a spiritual awakening. Not visions, not bliss, but discomfort. A subtle friction between your inner frequency and the external structure of the world. Your vibration starts shifting, and suddenly the old explanations stop working. You try to fix your life, but the pressure remains. You try to manage your thoughts, but the unease comes back. That's because the issue isn't in your conscious decisions. It's rooted in the subconscious mind, where time, identity, and survival programs were installed long before you ever questioned them. Very few people realize this, but the way modern society understands time is a construct one that shapes behavior, fear, productivity, and even self-worth. And once that construct is internalized, it quietly dictates how you experience reality. The hidden reality is that your consciousness is far more expansive than the timeline you've been given. And when that expansion begins, the old system starts to feel suffocating. Have you noticed how often you feel like you should be further along by now? How the future always seems just out of reach? That sensation doesn't come from failure. It comes from misalignment. Your frequency is no longer synchronized with a model of reality built on urgency, scarcity, and linear progression. On a quantum level, something inside you is waking up and recognizing that time, as you've known it, is an illusion. This is why the pressure feels personal, even though it isn't. Why it feels isolating, even though countless others feel it too. And why, when you hear these words, something resonates not intellectually, but energetically, as if a deeper part of you has been waiting for this conversation. So stay with me, not because this is abstract or philosophical, but because this is about you, about the quiet signals your consciousness has been sending, about the moment you started sensing that something is wrong with reality, even if you couldn't name it yet. What comes next will challenge how you understand time, awareness, and your place in the quantum field. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. What you're beginning to sense now is the first crack in a story you were never meant to question. From the moment you were young, time was presented as linear, absolute, and scarce. Past behind you, future ahead of you, and a narrow window called now, where you're supposed to succeed before it closes. That model didn't just organize clocks and calendars. It quietly programmed your subconscious mind. It taught you to rush, to compare, to feel behind, to measure your worth by milestones that were never universal. And over time, that pressure shaped your perception so deeply that you stopped noticing it as conditioning and started experiencing it as identity. In the hidden layers of quantum consciousness, time does not behave the way we experience it. In the quantum field, events are not chained in straight lines. They exist as probabilities, fields of potential, patterns of energy responding to observation. Science has already begun to show that reality is not linear, and time is not as real as it feels. But society still runs on the illusion of time because it is efficient, predictable, and controllable. When fear is tied to time, behavior becomes easier to manage. The feeling of always being late, always chasing, always running out, this is not a personal failure. It is the emotional side effect of subconscious programming. As your frequency shifts and your awareness expands, that program starts to glitch. You feel tension where you once felt certainty. You feel resistance where you once felt obedience. This is not confusion. It is the early stage of awakening, when perception outgrows the structure it was placed inside. And if this resonates, if something in your body relaxes while hearing it, that's not coincidence. It's recognition. If you feel aligned with this exploration of reality, consciousness, and the deeper mechanics beneath everyday life, stay connected. Share your perspective in the comments. Engage with this space, and subscribe if you want to be part of a community that questions together, expands together, and learns to read reality beyond the surface. Because what we're about to uncover next only makes sense when you're not alone, and we're just getting started. Because what happens next is where science itself begins to hesitate. For a long time, physics treated time as a simple backdrop, a neutral stage where events unfold. But modern physics no longer speaks with that certainty. In quantum physics and time research, there are growing indications that time may not be fundamental at all. Some models suggest that time emerges from relationships, from information exchange, from observation itself. In other words, time might not be something reality moves through, but something consciousness participates in. At the quantum level, particles do not carry a built-in clock. They respond to interaction, to energy, to measurement. This is where the observer effect quietly enters the conversation. Observation does not just reveal reality. It shapes how reality appears. When scientists study quantum reality explained without classical assumptions, past, present, and future stop behaving like fixed locations. They blur into probabilities, connected by perception rather than sequence. This is not mysticism. These are serious discussions in modern physics, approached carefully, with language full of indications and possibilities. And that caution matters, because it keeps the mystery alive without collapsing it into belief. What matters for you is this: if time is an emergent property, then your experience of pressure, urgency, or stagnation is deeply tied to how your subconscious mind interprets reality. Your perception of time becomes a reflection of frequency, of energetic alignment, of how consciousness interfaces with the quantum field. When awareness expands, time often feels unstable. Moments stretch or collapse. Intuition accelerates. Old patterns lose authority. This is why a spiritual awakening rarely feels calm at first. It feels disorienting, as if the internal compass is recalibrating. And if this feels personal, that's because it is. The next part brings this directly into your lived experience. Stay present with this. If these ideas resonate, let your energy be part of the exchange. Engage with this space, share what you're noticing, and remain connected to this channel. What comes next moves from theory into something unmistakably human, and once it lands, it won't feel abstract anymore, because this is where it stops being theoretical and starts touching your life directly. When time is treated as an illusion, the effects don't stay in textbooks. They show up as anxiety that appears without cause, guilt that lingers even when you've done nothing wrong, and emotional weight that feels older than memory. Trauma doesn't sit neatly in the past the way we were taught. In the quantum field, information is never erased. Experiences are recorded as energy, stored as frequency, and accessed through perception. This is why your subconscious mind can react to something old as if it's happening now. You've felt this before. Moments where time seemed to slow down or disappear. Sudden déjà vu that felt precise, almost intentional. Synchronicities that arrived with perfect timing, as if reality was responding to an inner shift. These are not glitches. They are signs of expansion of consciousness. When awareness grows, the linear model of reality begins to loosen, and your nervous system struggles to translate that into language. So it turns into sensations, emotions, patterns. People experiencing a spiritual awakening often think something is wrong with them, when in truth consciousness is learning to operate beyond a narrow timeline. Consciousness creates reality, not by force, but by resonance. Your vibration changes, your perception widens, and suddenly life feels deeper, stranger, more meaningful. That's why this feels personal, because it is. If these words feel familiar, it's because this channel speaks a language you felt but rarely heard reflected back. Stay connected to this space. Subscribe not as a click, but as an identity. Share your experience. Add your voice. Let this become a field of exchange where people like us recognize each other. What comes next will bring this even closer to your daily life. And once you see how it all connects, the illusion won't hold the same power anymore. Because when this perspective settles in, something subtle but powerful begins to shift. Time stops feeling like a prison and starts revealing itself as a model, a useful structure, but not the foundation of reality. Beneath it, deeper than calendars and clocks, there is consciousness itself. Quantum consciousness does not move through time the way matter appears to. It observes, relates, resonates. And the more clearly you see this, the more you realize that reality responds less to the ticking of a clock and more to the quality of attention you bring into each moment. In the quantum field, frequency organizes experience. Energy follows coherence, not schedules. This is why moments of clarity, love, fear, or insight can feel timeless, while years lived on autopilot collapse into almost nothing. Your perception shapes your reality far more than duration ever could. When the subconscious mind begins to release the belief that everything must happen before it's too late, a different kind of intelligence starts guiding your life. Not control, but alignment. Not force, but flow. This is where spirituality and science quietly meet. Modern physics hints that observation plays a role in how reality unfolds, while quantum spirituality points to a deeper source organizing those observations. Call it the source of reality. Call it divine intelligence. Call it the field itself. A name matters less than the recognition that something vast, ordered, and responsive exists beneath appearances. And when your awareness touches it, even briefly, fear loosens its grip. You were never meant to race time. You were meant to interact with reality consciously. Expansion of consciousness doesn't remove challenges, but it changes how they arrive and how they resolve. Life begins to feel less random, more conversational, as if reality is listening when your frequency becomes clear enough to speak. This realization isn't an ending, it's a threshold, because once you accept that time is not fundamental, a deeper question inevitably emerges. If time isn't the base layer of existence, then what is? That question opens the door to something even more profound, and it leads directly into what we'll explore next. Before we go there, let this land. If this resonates, leave a comment with words that feel true to your state right now. Like, I am awakening, I see beyond, or I am expanding. Your presence here matters. A like helps this reach others who feel the same pull, and sharing it with one person can start a chain you'll never fully see. And when you're ready, continue with the next video. God in Quantum Mechanics, the revelation that changes everything.